My part of the biology unit starts with nature versus nurture. Some believe that we are who we are based on only our biological makeup or what surrounds us, but in reality, it's a mix of both. Nature is the genetic predisposition or shaping of how someone is going to be, and nurture is the shaping of a person through the years based on experience or influence by the environment. Evolutionary perspective examines human behavior and cognition through the lens of evolution, suggesting that many traits and behaviors are adaptations that evolved to enhance survival and reproduction. Eugenics is a practice where people would decide what the most essential qualities were to make the most superior humans possible. This has caused for some questionable moments in history. Genetics is the study of genes, which are the basic units of heredity and the variation of characteristics. Your genes, DNA, and chromosomes begin at conception. The genetic blueprint is what everything comes down to. It's the DNA which includes the genetic instructions that determines an organism's characteristics and functions. Family genetics are used in healthcare to determine the health of a person in the future and which diseases they are likely to get. Identical twins come from a single egg that splits, creating shared DNA, while fraternal twins develop from two eggs fertilized by two different sperm cells, sharing half their DNA like any siblings would. Adoption studies help researchers note differences in nature versus nurture. An example of something that is built from genetics is eye color. Eye color can be different depending on what color eyes the parents have. Neurons and glial cells make up the lump sum of the brain. Neurons are the basic unit of the nervous system, and there are 100 to 200 billion of them in the brain alone. They receive and transmit electrochemical signals. This is a diagram of the neuron on the top. Glial cells are the healthcare system of the neurons. They provide support, clean up dead neurons and pathogens, they maintain homeostasis, and they regulate other functions. They are the other half of the weight of the brain. Glia, meaning glue, is needed for neurons to work. The diagram on the bottom shows what a glial cell is. The three main functions of the brain include absorbing information, interpreting the information, and then sending out the motor behavior to that information. They absorb information through the sensory neurons, which bring information from the five senses, being smell, taste, sight, touch, and sound. The sensory neurons are the afferent neurons, and what interprets these neurons is the interneurons, which communicate between the neurons to make decisions based on the information that the sensory neurons brought in and is affected by memory, attitudes, and emotion. The motor behavior is the output of the reaction to the information. Motor behavior uses the efferent neurons. The central nervous system contains the brain and the spinal cord, and the peripheral nervous system is all the nerves that take info from the central nervous system and send it through the body. Sensory neurons, motor neurons, and interneurons are all big parts of the nervous system. The sensory neurons transmit information from the body to the central nervous system. The motor neurons get information from the central nervous system to the muscles and glands, and the interneurons connect the brain regions and are involved in higher order thinking and functions like learning, planning, and cognition. A reflex arc is a neural pathway that allows an automatic rapid response to a stimulus, bypassing conscious thought and primarily involving the spinal cord. The somatic nervous system connects the central nervous system to nerves in the arms and legs for voluntary movement, and the autonomic nervous system connects the central nervous system to nerves in involuntary muscles and organs, and includes the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for your fight or flight response and raising your heart rate and stuff like that. The parasympathetic nervous system is responsible for relaxing you and bringing you back to a state of homeostasis after your sympathetic nervous system starts. This chart shows the different things that happens in each system. The resting potential is the potential energy waiting to be released. There's a negative charge in the neuron's membrane when it is at a resting state. The charge is between the inside and the outside of the neuron. Even though the neuron is neutral and at rest, it's not completely inactive. Potassium, sodium, and proteins play key roles in resting potential. Potassium has high concentration inside the cell, which is positive, but as the protein ions leave the cell, it becomes more negative. Sodium has a high concentration outside of the cell, which is positive, but when the potassium leaves, some sodium ions take their place, but not enough to offset it as the sodium does not move as easily. Protein has a negative charge and is trapped on the inside of the cell, so overall the cell is negative. This is a diagram of this actual resting potential in a neuron membrane. Action potential is when a threshold is reached, the membrane breaks down and sodium rushes in, which causes an electrochemical reaction. The all or nothing response, meaning either the neuron fires or it doesn't, the intensity does not change. This can be represented like dominoes. When one falls, they'll all fall, or if one gets messed up, they won't all fall. Just like the neuron will either send the information or it won't send at all. Depolarization is a rapid potential rise, which is followed by repolarization, which is the neuron returning back to its resting state. Repolarization happens after sodium channels close and the potassium leaves. And to finish it off is the refractory period, where no new action potentials happen, meaning no neurons can be fired for a period of time. That's it for my part of the biology unit.